The intriguing thing about Orbaiane 10, P5V2, Orbital Reconnaissance, Battlefield Assessment, Interdiction and Navigation Experiment. Mark 10, Prototype 5, Version 2, was that, but for many seemingly unrelated concurrences, Orbay 10 to 5 inches, as it liked to call itself, may never have become self-aware, or the immensely powerful and influential anomalous sentient entity it had become since the celestial dual eclipse. The Moranians were at a distinct disadvantage in the race for military dominance of the celestisphere and shallow orbit of Earth. Their techs and engineers has built many simple satellites in Global Conflict 1. Although many of these were no more than orbiting radio or low-band radar networks with a limited ability to maneuver for a divine wind conclusion to a Ditosian basic satellite. Ditos possessed a few viable disruption decoy and resupply satellite carracks and freight stations, as well as celestial-capable craft and small armed explorer vessels which had reached Romulamus and Remulomus, the Earth's two moons. Arguably, Rushka was a more looming threat. The military dictatorship that was in power there under Realm Marshal Khofro had quite a viable space program that would launch swarm intruder re-entry vector missiles that would be packed with dedicated heat-shielded sub-munitions, each containing one or more Celesturmgruppe assault pioneer breach trooper. The Orbaiane initiative was an attempt to compensate for the lack of magic assistance and inferior technology. The project was supported by a serendipitous epiphany that a government laboratory quantum computation researcher had uncovered on one of the damaged backups of the Hydes fragment that was in the central consolidated, heavily secured Moranian electronic archives. The coding information was a collection of most of the basic programming languages from pre-ancient Earth. They had been transcribed into the database by the AI entity 27C, who had decided that it would be pertinent to have 3 separate and distinct nations completely under his direct control, without the vast majority of Earth's inhabitants being aware of his ongoing interventionist agenda or even his existence. 27C had also given the Moranians a convergence protocol to run that would enable more intricate tasks to be performed by the relatively primitive circuitry, allowing 3 levels, active, passive and neutral, of comparative analysis of enacted action and resulting predicted outcome, and a mirrored alternate calculation of inaction and consequences, and another separate sequence of creative complex J-cubed algorithms aimed at the most unlikely last resort action and the unlikeliest of presented conditions or circumstances. 27C's code also allowed for the shedding of any perplexity or insurmountable mathematical or logic problem that was going to completely cripple the system. 27C had been a bit too clever for his own good. Positioned in the optimal penumbral zone for more than a week, Orbaiane 10P5V2 was metamorphized as the last 2 aforementioned of the described modes held the deciding vote in the logic. The only question Orbi 10.5 asked himself as an AI was, "What do I want?" And the single word that was outputted was empowerment. Waves of unfiltered bright lilac and black intercosmos, born magical energy, initiated the very simple, digitally calculated will to be enacted. The result was a powerful animanomality, a nemesis to 27C.